The Iraqi dinar revaluation. A turning point in global finance or just another rumor? For years, whispers of a monumental shift in the global currency system have circulated in financial circles, online forums, and speculative investment communities. Among the most prominent stories has been the long-anticipated revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, IQD. While countless investors have endured cycles of excitement and disappointment, recent developments suggest that what was once dismissed as mere theory might now be edging closer to reality. Reports claim credible sources have confirmed that the U.S. Treasury and the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, are aligned on financial restructuring measures, sparking speculation that a true revaluation process has begun. If correct, this would represent the most consequential development in the currency market in more than a decade. But amid excitement, confusion, and a flood of rumors, the pressing questions remain. What has really been confirmed? What is speculation? What does this mean for ordinary holders of the dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and other currencies tied to the so-called global currency reset? This article will unpack these questions in depth. We'll separate verified facts from rumor, examine documented government references, assess insider testimony, and place the story in its broader geopolitical context. Ultimately, we'll explore whether the long-awaited event of a dinar revaluation has finally arrived, or whether patience will still be required. 1. Why the Iraqi dinar matters in currency speculation. To understand the magnitude of this discussion, it is essential to revisit the history of Iraq's currency. Before the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime in 2003, the Iraqi dinar was valued at over $3 per US dollar. However, the collapse of the government, war, sanctions, and political turmoil destroyed confidence in the currency. Within months, the dinar's value had plummeted, trading at roughly 1,300 dinars per dollar, a fraction of its former strength. Since then, Iraq has operated on a heavily depreciated currency, one of the weakest in the world. Yet, Iraq possesses one of the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, over 145 billion barrels, along with gold holdings and strategic geopolitical positioning. To many analysts and investors, this mismatch between Iraq's tangible wealth and its suppressed currency value created a compelling narrative. One day, the dinar would rise again. For nearly 2 decades, hedge funds, independent investors, and even some governments quietly accumulated dinar, convinced that when Iraq stabilized politically and economically, its currency would eventually reflect its true wealth. The question was never only about Iraq's readiness, however. The real issue was whether the international financial system, led by the United States and institutions like the IMF, would allow such a revaluation. 2. Recent developments. Signs of a shift. Fast forward to 2025. Multiple sources now point to a convergence of signals, suggesting that the long-discussed revaluation process may indeed be underway. These include statements from the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI. In recent months, the CBI has announced the completion of financial restructuring plans, modernization of banking infrastructure, and alignment with international compliance standards. Such reforms were long considered prerequisites for any major currency adjustment. A report from the U.S. Treasury, though partially redacted, a document reportedly released under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA in mid-2025, referenced foreign sovereign liquidity adjustments, with explicit mention of Iraq. While couched in bureaucratic language, analysts interpret it as indirect confirmation of a revaluation process. Insider testimony and bank-level tests, perhaps the most controversial yet intriguing claims, come from banking insiders. Some assert that exchange tests have already taken place in U.S. states such as Texas, Nevada, and Florida. According to these accounts, transactions were monitored by compliance officers and IT teams, indicating that settlement systems, including the quantum financial system, QFS, are functional. If true, this would mark a dramatic departure from previous speculation cycles, where talk of revaluation was never paired with confirmed institutional testing. 3. The role of the United States. A crucial piece of this puzzle is America's position. Iraq's relationship with the U.S. is not only military and diplomatic, but also deeply financial. Washington holds billions in dinar through oil credit agreements. A substantial upward adjustment of the IQD would mean that these credits suddenly gain immense value, providing the U.S. Treasury with significant leverage. Moreover, such a move would reinforce America's influence in the Middle East, while simultaneously counterbalancing global efforts to reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar. In an era when countries like China, Russia, and regional blocs are experimenting with de-dollarized trade, supporting Iraq in revaluing its currency could serve U.S. strategic interests. For why now? Why would this moment, more than 2 decades after Saddam's fall, be the tipping point? Several converging factors may explain the timing. 1. Iraq's economic stabilization. After years of volatility, Iraq's economy is showing steady growth. Improved governance, banking reform, and IMF cooperation have created conditions conducive to financial restructuring. 2. Geopolitical necessity. With tensions simmering across the Middle East, Iraq's stability is a regional priority. Empowering Baghdad through financial means could serve as a stabilizing measure. 3. U.S. fiscal incentives. America stands to benefit directly if dinar holdings appreciate. With U.S. debt levels at historic highs, additional value from foreign-held reserves could offer budgetary relief. 4. Global monetary realignment. As new economic alliances explore alternatives to the dollar, the U.S. may be strategically supporting asset-backed allies like Iraq to reinforce a balance of power. 5. Fact versus rumor. It's important, however, to separate fact from wishful thinking. Here's what can be reasonably verified versus what remains speculation. Confirmed facts. Iraq has modernized its banking system to meet international standards. The CBI has publicly acknowledged completion of restructuring plans. A U.S. Treasury document does reference Iraq in the context of sovereign liquidity. Unconfirmed rumors. Bank-level exchanges have already processed IQD at new rates. The quantum financial system is live and fully integrated. Specific U.S. banks like Wells Fargo and Chase are preparing for redemptions. While the combination of signals is stronger than ever before, no official public announcement of a new IQD rate has been made. 6. Implications for currency holders. For those who have held onto dinar for years, sometimes enduring ridicule from skeptics, the recent signals are invigorating. Yet this is also the most delicate stage. If a revaluation is imminent, preparation is critical. Verify authenticity. Ensure dinar holdings were purchased from licensed dealers and are authentic. Counterfeit notes remain a risk. Organize documentation. Be prepared with purchase receipts, government-issued ID, and tax planning documents. Wealth management planning. A sudden increase in value can bring both opportunity and complexity. Diversification, legal advice, and long-term investment planning are essential. Stay grounded. Speculation should not replace practical financial caution. Until an official rate change is announced, the situation remains fluid. 7. Beyond Iraq, the broader reset narrative. The dinar story doesn't exist in isolation. For years, talk of a global currency reset. GCR has circulated, often involving the Vietnamese dong, VND, the Zimbabwean dollar, and other undervalued currencies. While much of this narrative has been fueled by speculation and conspiracy theories, there is an undeniable reality that the international financial system is undergoing transformation. Nations are diversifying away from the dollar in trade settlements. Digital currencies, both state-backed and decentralized, are redefining financial flows. Resource-rich nations are exploring ways to anchor their currencies in tangible assets like oil, gas, and gold. In this shifting environment, a revaluation of the Iraqi dinar would not only impact investors, but also symbolize a larger movement toward realignment of global financial power. 8. A historical perspective. To appreciate the weight of this moment, it helps to see it against Iraq's tumultuous financial journey. The dinar was a respected, high-value currency in the region. 2003-2004, following Saddam's fall, Iraq introduced new banknotes under international oversight. Despite these reforms, the dinar's value collapsed. 2005-2020. Ongoing instability, corruption, and insurgency prevented meaningful economic recovery. The dinar hovered at extremely low levels. 2020-2025. Gradual reforms, IMF collaboration, oil agreements, and infrastructure improvements brought Iraq closer to financial credibility. Seen in this light, a revaluation would not be a sudden windfall but the culmination of 2 decades of rebuilding. 9. The road ahead. So where does this leave us? The truth lies somewhere between excitement and caution. There is stronger evidence than ever before that a revaluation process may be unfolding, but official confirmation and public exchange rates remain absent. For investors, the key is balanced vigilance. Monitor CBI announcements. Track U.S. Treasury updates. Stay wary of misinformation and predatory schemes targeting dinar holders. If the revaluation materializes, it will represent not only a historic financial event, but also a symbolic turning point for Iraq's reintegration into the global economy. Conclusion: the Iraqi dinar has long embodied a paradox, a currency of a resource-rich nation trading at one of the lowest values in the world. For years, speculation about its revaluation has been dismissed as fantasy, yet the convergence of official signals in 2025 suggests that the tide may finally be turning. Whether the process is days away or still unfolding quietly behind the scenes, what is clear is that this is not just about Iraq. It is about geopolitics, U.S. strategic positioning, and the broader shifts in the global financial order. For holders of dinar, dong, and other speculative currencies, the message is clear: prepare, stay informed, and remain cautious. History may indeed be in the making, but it has not yet fully revealed its hand. If confirmed, this will not simply be an adjustment of exchange rates. It will be the symbolic restoration of Iraq's rightful economic standing and potentially the opening chapter of a new era in global finance. Disclaimer: all content provided by IQD Global Intel is for educational and informational purposes only. We are not financial advisors and do not provide investment, trading, or banking advice. Viewers should always conduct their own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.